Good morning and welcome to the November DAC Monthly Webcast. I'm Jennifer Stafford, the Director in the Division of Assessment and Accountability Support, and we welcome you here today for our DAC Webcast. We know that many of you have faced sickness across the Commonwealth, and many of the districts have been closed over the last few weeks due to illness. So we hope that you are healthy and your students and staff are healthy as well, or at least on the mend. Today, we have several topics to share with you that includes the exciting news of released items for our Kentucky Summative Assessment, as well as some updates about the upcoming Window 1 for our alternate Kentucky Summative Assessment. And Shara is going to be here with us for ACT. So myself, Devin Avery, and Shara are going to provide some updates for you and release some exciting new resources, and Ben Riley is monitoring our DAC info. So if you have questions, please email dacinfo@education.ky.gov, and we will get as many of those in as possible. So let's get started. We want to provide you with excellent resources on our Kentucky Summative Assessment. What we do is we start with developing items for the Kentucky Summative Assessment and the alternate Kentucky Summative Assessment by bringing teachers in. Teachers and those content area experts, they develop items for the state assessment, and then those items go through various reviews for bias and sensitivity and content, and those then are utilized on state assessments. So items that are used for the state assessment are what we call released items, so that teachers and instructional staff can have example items to have for instructional purposes in their classrooms for use. And so we bring you the released items. By statute, it's mandatory that the department release a set of items on each of our content areas that have been operational, and we have data around those items. So we've had released items out there for our science assessment, and now we are releasing the most recent version of that set. Now, the released items are on the Kentucky portal from Pearson around the Kentucky Summative Assessment. Those items are released in a test booklet format. So you will see a Kentucky Summative Assessment format, and it will look like an actual test that was administered. So you'll have a number of items, whether it's multiple choice items, whether it's short answer, extended response, or prompts that are included in those. You'll also receive anchor sets, which are sets that the student has provided responses to. So being an online assessment, student responses are typed out. So there are a number of items and responses from our students to the items that we are releasing. And you can see also how those are scored. So those released items with sample actual responses from students and the score that they got. And there's a range of scores as well that are released. You also have some annotated sets where you can see the responses from the scores on how that student response was scored, and some discussion of how those the student responded to those. And there's also going to be data around each of the items and the how the students responded. So again, the released items are going to be in a test booklet. So you'll see here, this is a actual copy of the form that is going to be released with the items. It'll again look very much like a test form, and it will even say do not make copies on it, because that's the way the test book looks. But obviously these are released items, and that can happen. So we hope that you will use these released items. The anchor sets, again, will have student responses, and you can see here that we've pulled a item, and you'll notice that each of the items are numbered with letters and numbers, and then the item will have the letters and numbers, and then the corresponding student response will have those same letters and numbers. And you can see that this example here has been a score of 1. So as you know, there are multiple select as well as constructed response or extended response, and there are opportunities for a 0, a 1, or a 2 in this particular example. So there are a variety of student responses provided. And the annotated sets will have the number of the item, and then the response and the score, and then the comments from the score about how that item or that response to that item could be better, or the merits of that response. And then finally, you will have some item statistics. So I've taken these from the science set that's there now, and you will see that there are information around the students, the student groups on the released items, and this is a statewide responses, but you will also receive how your students do, particularly to various questions, and you will see how they responded to the correct answer, the percentage, and then you will also receive the distractors and the percentage of students who responded and chose the distractors. So you'll receive those. So there, right now, there are examples and released items out there for the science that is from 2020. And you will also see, today, you will see the social studies items and those anchor sets and information around the social studies. We are releasing these content area items as they are ready. So through Pearson, they are working with their publications department and making them presentable and 508 compliant to be on the public-facing portal. So as the content areas are completed, they will be uploaded and released in the Kentucky portal, and we will also provide a special DAC email, or there will be updates in the Monday DAC email. So those will be forthcoming. Other content areas will be forthcoming, as well as other resources. We are anticipating the next content area to be released will be on-demand writing. So you will can anticipate that will be released very soon. So you can be looking for those, and then look for also for additional resources and those announcements through either the Monday email or special DAC emails. And those will be, again, those released items that were operational in the spring of 2022. So those are examples of the actual tests. We hope that you can use those for your instructional purposes and really dig into how those items relate to the standards and that level of rigor that are demonstrated on the assessments. So we hope that those are useful and those can be utilized with your teachers and instructional staff as you develop your own classroom assessments and then common assessments across the districts, as well as then looking at the standards as well. Let me pause there. Ben, do we have any questions about the released items?
I am refreshing real quick just to be sure before I say this. We don't have any questions about released items at this time, but I'm sure we will. So I will check back in at the end when we do our general questions.
Great, thank you. So just to close this section out, those released items for science from 2020 are currently available. And the social studies from 2022, the spring administration is currently available. We're going to have writing very soon. We'll also have the other content areas very soon as well. Now, the individual student, not individual student, but that school summary will be forthcoming. We will announce when all of that data around the school is available. So those will be made available to district assessment coordinators through various means. So we'll make sure that when those are ready for review and use, that we make those available as well. But we want to make sure that we get these released items out as soon as they are ready. So they will be rolling out as they are released. All right, at that point, let me stop and turn it over to Devin, who's going to bring us some updates around the alternate Kentucky Summative Assessment.
All right. I think I saw that there were some questions. Ben, do we want to address those now or wait until the end?
If Jennifer wants to pop back on, they're actually both the same question.
Okay, let's do those now.
Yeah, and this is actually going to be hopefully a quick question. Will you be updating the science released item from the 2021 currently posted? Since it seems science is down across the state and in most all levels, so it would be helpful. And the other question is the same. They're just asking about the science released item.
Yes, there will be additional science items from the 2022 spring release. So those items that are currently out there for 2020 are still viable. Those are aligned to the Kentucky assessment or in the standards that we have now in science. So those are still good. They are released. Those can be utilized. We are just going to add to those as well with additional release items from the spring 22 administration.
Perfect. That's all we have for now. So we can kick it over to Devin.
Thanks, Ben.
Yep.
Thank you, Ben and Jennifer. So good morning, everyone. My name is Devin Avery, and I am going to discuss some things surrounding the upcoming Window 1 of the AKSA. So our objectives during this section, I'm going to give you some reminders. I'm going to give you 3 checklists that might help you with your test administration, and then I'm going to give you a recap of some important upcoming dates. So for Window 1 reminders, Window 1 for Attainment Task Administration opens Monday, November 14th, and it will close on December 16th. Attainment tasks are for grades 3 through 8 and 10 and 11. And attainment tasks must be administered by a certified staff member who has passed the certification quiz and participated in administration code and inclusion of special populations training. So when you do your ATs, the student registration database is where you put your scores. That opens on November 14th, same day as the window, and it closes December 23. So you cannot give any attainment tasks after December 16th, but that next week is for you to complete your score entry. If you are a teacher and you're looking like today that you want to try to get into the SRD, you cannot access that until November 14th. We've had a lot of questions about that. I know a lot of people want to get in there and familiarize themselves with it. That will open on November 14th for teachers. So our first checklist is a kind of a pre-assessment checklist. This is a general reminder of some of the administrative processes that need to occur before testing a student. So first, the administration code and inclusion of special population trainings need to be completed and documented. That's either a signature sheet. Some districts are using a Google form. Just make sure you complete those and document your completion. Next, the test administrator needs to make sure they have completed the certification quiz in the online training system. You have to print your certificate and make sure that you give a copy to your DAC. This closes November 14th, the same day that the window opens. So we're kind of on the time crunch if you have teachers who haven't done that yet. Please do not wait to complete this. It will shut down. Any non-certified personnel assisting during a test session must sign a non-disclosure form. And as per the administration code, please cover or remove content from your test administration areas. So this might be the classroom or the place that you are testing the student. It includes posters, strategy guides, or any other materials. Just treat it the same way that you would during the general KSA. Please ensure test security of all test materials while they are not actively being used. We do recommend that the test administrator previews the tasks and supplemental materials prior to administering them so that they can become familiar with them and make any necessary modifications to the materials for student access, such as enlarging them or finding some objects to represent answer choices or perhaps creating high contrast materials. Also, before a test administrator can have those materials handed over, the DAC does have to make sure that they completed the certification quiz. Right, so now we're into a checklist surrounding the actual task administration. These are just some basic reminders regarding checkpoints when administering the attainment tasks. I took these out of the Attainment Task Administration Guide. I linked that on this page as well. When it's time to begin your task administration, your test administrator should be in a one-to-one environment with the student. Follow the directions in the script and read it exactly as written. This is a fully scripted assessment. Beginning on page 13 of the administration guide, there are some extra examples of acceptable and unacceptable administration procedures. So for example, it is acceptable to cue a student to begin or to orient them to a task, but it's not acceptable to cue them towards a specific answer. When a student answers, please record the response. Students cannot return to a previous question once they've moved to the next question, even if they ask. This is because sometimes the tasks, the questions build on each other, and so once they've answered, there's no returning to the previous one. They may not have multiple opportunities to answer the same question. And finally, there are opportunities for breaks throughout the tasks. It will say in there, you may take a 5-minute break. And also, follow your students' IEP or their plan. The task may also be administered in more than one session if needed. If you have to stop a test session for a break, a medical emergency, a student has to leave, any one of a number of issues, you must restart where the student left off. You cannot go back and start from the beginning. So if you're in reading task A, question 3, and the student leaves, you cannot come back and restart at question 1. You have to pick up right where you left off. You can reorient them and remind them of the task, but you can't start over once they've answered a question. Finally, this is just a little note surrounding instruction. As per the administration code, Instruction may continue in the testing window, but you cannot center it around the tasks being administered, nor can there be any kind of review or reteaching based on knowledge of the secure test materials. Here's our third checklist I mentioned. Once your attainment task administration is complete, it's time for your score entry. The SRD is open from November 14th through December 16th. Transfer your student responses from the paper answer sheet into the online database, and then store your paper answer sheet securely. The AT binder and your supplemental materials should be returned to your designated person. That might be your BAC, your DAC, or your DOS for secure storage until the end of the school year. Big thing, please do not destroy your materials after window 1, because your materials may be needed during a makeup window, or even in the event a student moves in toward the end of the year, and they will still be expected to test window 1 and window 2 materials, those same materials. If they are destroyed, it's really hard to get another copy together. So please do not destroy your stuff after window 1. So some upcoming dates. Today, actually, from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time, we are going to have an office hour for some open discussion of questions surrounding window 1. As always, you all can email or call at any time, but this is just an hour where I'm completely available for you. Any kind of questions you have, DACs, BACs, DOSes, teachers, test administrators, you are all welcome to attend all of this or just part of it. Pop in and get your questions answered. This is a Microsoft Teams live event. I linked it here in this slide, and I will also be sending out a special DAC email this afternoon with some of these reminders from today and some information about window 1 in that email. That'll go out later this afternoon. And there will be a link to the office hour there too. November 14th, that is our big day. Window 1 opens, the training closes, and the career readiness database also opens for score entry for the CWEC and ESAR. And those are for our high school. Test window 1 closes December 16th, but you may still enter your scores until December 23rd. On December 23rd, the CWEC and ESAR post-secondary readiness quizzes close. And finally, we have a makeup window to look forward to for your window 1 attainment tasks. That will run from January 9 to March 24th. So more information about that makeup window will be forthcoming. And please keep your eye on your Monday DAC emails and your special AKSA emails as well. And that's all I have surrounding AKSA. Again, office hour this afternoon, or email, call Devon, devon.avery@education.ky.gov, or you can contact DAC info as well. Ben, do we have any questions?
Yes, we've got one question
For the
AKSA administration. Does certified teacher mean certified in special ed specialty area or certified in any area?
It's a certified teacher. Some people have used, like, their DAC is still a certified person, or there may be another certified teacher or a related service provider who is a certified teacher. So.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome. I hope that answered.
We just got one more question if you want to answer it.
Okay, sure.
On the alternate assessment materials, do we destroy school level materials and just keep the district level materials, or do you want us to retain all of the school level materials too until the end of the year?
By school level materials, I'm going to guess, because I'm not going to assume, but I will guess that you're talking about those paper score sheets from each student. Please retain those until the end of the year as well. Because if something happens where they didn't get entered on time, that way you still have evidence that your student completed that, and you still have their score record where it could be entered in as needed in case it didn't get saved. So just hold on to your stuff until at least the end of the year.
All right, that's all we have for now on that topic.
All right, thank you, Ben. I will turn it over now to my colleague, Shara Savage, with some ACT administration reminders.
Thank you, Devin. So it's Shara Savage with the Office of Assessment Accountability, and I do have, I know that we have just finished up fall ACT testing, but it's now time to start digging into the spring ACT. PAN is open, so I want to give you some reminders about the spring 23 junior administration. So we just wrapped up 2 days of training. We held a training in Lexington, and then we held one in Bowling Green yesterday. So I was excited to see everybody that was able to come out. On that note, if you weren't able to make it to either one of those trainings, remember it is a required training, but we are, if you wasn't able to come, we are going to be recording that training and posting it. So look for that in that information in an upcoming DAC email very soon. Now, with that being said, there are a couple of other trainings that are happening next week. ACT will be, so what we covered in those trainings this week was KDE policy and a deeper dive into some policies and procedures and what's new with ACT. These trainings coming up this week, this coming week, is activities for staff, the pre-test activities. That one will be held on November the 14th at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. And with your PowerPoint that went out in the special DAC email, you have those links to register for those trainings. The additional training is the accommodations training that happens on November the 15th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So anyone involving requesting those accommodations would need to attend that training. Okay, so that's the training. Now the task that is now open in PAN to complete is the select a test date task. And if you are unfamiliar with how to complete that, you can use the user guide that I have linked here for you to help you through that process. Or if you have any questions, you know you can always email me or call me at any time and I will walk you through that. I do request that if you have a school that's not going to be testing, please go in and mark that school not testing and the reason why. Of course, if you are planning to test, go in and select your test date and your accommodations test date and your receipt of materials date. And you have until December the 9th to complete this task. And then we also, ACT and I, will be hosting again for the spring administration around those key deadlines, more additional office hours for the upcoming junior administration for the spring. So our first one will be held Friday, November the 18th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And then we will also have another one Friday, December the 9th from 10 to 11 Eastern Time. So those are always beneficial to join and hear. Even if you don't have questions, it's always good to attend, hear the information that ACT provides, and then you can gain a lot of knowledge just by listening to others ask questions and getting those answers. And I believe at this point, I have covered all of the ACT updates and reminders, and I'll stop here. Ben, do I have any questions?
We don't have any ACT questions at this time.
Okay. All right, Jennifer, I will turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Shara, and thanks to Devin as well for her presentation and those important reminders. As we wait here for Ben to see if there are any other questions, I will just note for you that we were able to attend the ACT test administration training over the last couple of days, and it was very nice, as Shara said, to see district assessment coordinators, test coordinators, and building assessment coordinators that we hadn't gotten to see in a long time. So it was really nice to be with you.
All right. Are you ready for me, Jennifer?
Yes. Do you have questions?
Yes, I have a couple.
Okay.
This first one is in response to the science standards question we received earlier. It's just a follow-up, and they asked, at any point, will we be able to receive standards-based data? Our science teachers would like to know where we have areas of strength and areas that need growth for improvement.
So yes, that's one of the benefits of receiving the released items, because they are going to be aligned to the standards, obviously, in the level of rigor of the standards. When teachers come in to write those items, they start with the standards themselves. And those items that we are releasing are directly written to represent those Kentucky standards. So with those also, you will receive sample student responses. Those can be utilized, dissected as a part of PLCs and part of your instructional strategy and learning as leaders in the school and district. So you will also receive, as I mentioned, they're not out there now, but by school, you will receive information about how your students responded and the percentages that got the question right, the percentages that are aligned to those the incorrect answers and those distractors. So that's very good information on those standards about how your students responded, because you can see where they were right and then the misconceptions that they had around those distractors. So you will receive information by school. So those are going to be very powerful to do some really in-depth, meaningful look at how your students responded on those items. So I think that that's going to be very powerful for you in your science instruction.
Awesome. All right, we got another question about standards. This
Okay.
one is, when will social studies released items, and they're being specific and asking about the test booklet format, appear on the Kentucky portal?
Yes, so that's a great question, because those should be out there today. We were anticipating that be released with all of the items. However, there was a mix up with processing those and getting those 508 compliant, because anything that is made public has to meet those guidelines. So those will be forthcoming and will be what we're anticipating should be up there this afternoon, so that you'll have those tomorrow.
Okay. And then one more, and then I have a question for Devin. And this is back on the science standards. Sorry to shift gears on it, just came in. This is a follow-up. They were just wanting to know, when will they receive the information concerning the release of the science standards that you were just talking about?
We are rolling the announcements out as the items are available. So we're not holding them there. We're not waiting and holding all the content areas to be released at one time. We are rolling them out on a basis of when they're finished. So they go through a process that the items are identified to be released. They are reviewed to make sure that we have all the information and they're in the format that they should be for release. And then it goes through the publishing process with Pearson, and those are going to be released and announced as soon as they are out there. So again, the next content area we are anticipating is writing. So you can anticipate announcement on that one very soon. And then as soon as the other content areas are made available in public, we will announce those as well.
We just got one more in for released items, though I knew this would be a popular topic today. How will schools or district response information be delivered? Will that be through PAN, KDE, web, secure web apps, et cetera?
So we're looking right now in developing those spreadsheets. You can anticipate that those will be available. We haven't decided specifically how to release those yet. We're still working through those details. Look for more information about those specific school data to come.
All right. And then I just have one more question for Devin. So if she wants to pop on, and I'll get that pulled up. Hey, Devin.
Hey, Ben.
All right. This was going back to the question you got asked about the alternate assessment materials and what level they destroy the materials. They just had a clarification that they were not asking about score sheets. They were asking about the actual test materials, and they were referring to, I believe, a slide, not in this presentation, but another presentation that refers to secure storage and what says do not destroy after window 1. What they want to know is they're kind of asking, why do they?
Okay, so thank you for asking for clarification, because that tells me what I need to do to make my slides better. So surrounding school level materials and district level materials. So I had said don't destroy and hold on to those until the end of the year, and I assumed you were discussing the score sheets, and that was not the case. You were discussing school level binders that you have created out of the DAC original DAC binder. So you may collect school level materials and securely destroy those, as was the procedure in the past. I want to keep that for continuity. Keep your original DAC binder intact until the end of the year in case of makeup. So school materials can be collected after window 1, such as your AT binders you make for those, but your DAC binders remain intact. So I'm sorry for any confusion, and I will definitely re-clarify that in the email that goes out this afternoon. So thanks again for asking that. Hopefully I answered your question better. If not, just please reach out, let me know, and I can get with you further on the answer.
All right. Thanks, Devin. All right. And looking at our email, we have a couple other questions, but it looks like those would be more appropriate to handle individually, Jennifer. So I will take those and give them over to you so you can handle that. But at this time, other than those couple emails, it looks like we don't have any more questions.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank you for those good questions. We appreciate those, and we'll respond back. That does conclude our presentation for the November DAC Monthly Webcast. Thanks again to Devin and Shara and Ben, as always, doing a great job. We appreciate you as well. We want you to have a happy holiday. We've got some holidays coming up, Thanksgiving, before we see you back here again in December. Our next DAC Monthly Webcast is scheduled for December 8th, so we will see you then. Until then, stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.